Well, hello there, people. I hope you've been keeping extremely well since my last video, and just in general as well. I know over here there's been a heat wave recently. Depending when you watch this video, that's probably going to make no sense if it's in winter or whatnot. But yes, biggest heat wave in the UK since I've been alive anyway, and since a lot of people have been alive, I believe. So on that note, the reason for not having a regular sort of video upload is because I've been waiting for the right time, or rather the right cards for this game to be able to show off some of these decks. So previously with the Speedroids, I built up quite a bit and was able to show it off once I had the right cards, and now we're in the right position to show another deck off, and this is a super fun deck. Starry Night, Starry Dragon. Absolutely adore this card and this deck. In fact, it's super fun to play. I heavily recommend it. Is it a tier, or rather a higher tier deck? I was going to say tier 0, tier 1. No, not a chance at all. But it can be quite disruptive, and once you're used to it, it can actually get you quite far. It's super cool, can take the opponent off guard, and in something like Master Duel, where you've only got one game anyway, why not give it a try? Why not take the opponent off guard? So, as always, I'll be going through the monsters, the spells, the traps, as well as an explanation of the overall deck type. Something else to kind of flag out there, if you're watching this video super early, is Starry Night Orbitael. Now, luckily this is only a super rare card, but if you was looking at making this deck type, then Starry Night Orbitael, the newest Starry Night card, is available in the Valiant Wings selection pack. Otherwise, you're going to have to look at master packs or using your super rare gems, unfortunately. But again, at least it's not an ultra rare. You'll more easily be able to use your gems to, build up the gems you need to get this card. And what a card it is, this really complements it. I was running Starry Night Dragon before this card was released, and it was okay, but Orbitael makes it a lot smoother. So anyway, let me get on to the point of this deck. So, Starry Night, Starry Dragon. The whole thing is to be able to summon this card out as much as possible and blow up as many of your opponent's cards as you can in multiple turns. So your turn, your opponent's turn, and you've got the support to keep on bouncing it as well as a couple of other negates too. So yeah, that in itself is a really good effect. And bearing in mind, this isn't once per turn either. You could do it multiple times in the same turn if you've got the right cards for it. So let's go through just the standard effect of it. If this card is normal or special summoned from the hand, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. Cool, beautiful, lovely effect. It also cannot be destroyed by battle with a dark monster or by a dark monster's effects. Now, of course, this is going to be dependent on your opponent's deck, but you know what? There are quite a few dark monsters out there that people use, especially if people are running Phoenix Enforcer and all that sort of good stuff. Yeah, there's plenty of dark type decks out there, or decks that use dark monsters. So definitely don't forget this effect. And then also, once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster until the end phase. Also, this card can make a second attack in a row. So, in short, if you're not able to, beat up a monster through brute force, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it for one turn and then attack directly. Such a cool effect. On top of that, it's also disruption if your opponent is using equip cards, whether they be union monsters or spell or trap cards, because once you remove that monster, that usually blows up the thing that's attached to it also. So yes, definitely do not forget that effect also. This is just such a weird card, and this is why I love it. It's just so fun to play with. So that's the whole point of the boss monster, as well as the deck of just constantly blowing up your opponent's row, your back row and your front row with this card. And yeah, let's go into the other support and the other cards that we have here, shall we? So, one other thing to note with this deck is there are a lot of important cards in here, but there is wiggle room to swap out certain cards based on your play style. So you'll notice there aren't as many hand traps here. I would heavily recommend an Effect Veiler or two if you've got them, though. I myself unfortunately don't have them. But depending on your playstyle, you could swap out 2 Honest for 2 Effect Veilers, or you could get rid of 1 Honest and have 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring in there. That is one thing with this deck. There are a lot of important cards, and I will note to you what you could take out if you wanted to use more hand traps if you've got them. So, of course, as I just mentioned, 2 Ash Blossom in here. Always good to disrupt the opponent if they're trying to pull cards from their deck into their hand. We also have Barrio's... gosh, why do I keep saying Barrio's Barrio? I don't know why. Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Now, I absolutely hate going against Barrier Statue cards. Especially as they're no fun to go against. I really hate that kind of play. But if you want to get far in this game, especially climbing a ranked ladder, then you need this sort of disruption for your opponent. So Barrier Statue of the Heavens, neither player can special summon monsters except light monsters. The vast majority of your deck and extra deck are light monsters, so you can do things. You can definitely do things. And on top of that, this is also why I like having 3 Honest in here. One, well, because I don't have Effect Veilers, but 2, actually there's 3 reasons. So 2, it's super cheap in the Cypher Starter Pack. If we just have a little look there. So in Master Duel, Sale Structure, Rage of Cypher, I think it was 500 or 750 gems. You get other cards in there, but considering Honest is an ultra rare, that is quite a bargain, in all honesty. So definitely for me, I run 3 of these in here, especially as the effect can stack. And by the effect, I mean during the damage step when a light monster you control battles, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. That monster gains attack equal to the attack of the opponent's monster it is battling until the end of this turn. Now there's actually a couple of things to keep an eye on here. Like I said, that effect stacks. You can use more than 1 Honest per turn. So you can use that to protect your Barrier Statue if your opponent's going to attack it. Or, going back to this one, something that also works is if your opponent has only got 1 monster on the field, what you can actually do, especially if it's a beefy monster, is use this Starry Night, Starry Dragon effect to remove it from play for 1 turn, and then you can still use Honest immediately afterwards, and again stack, so then you get a direct attack in with, I mean, if you got 2 of these, it could potentially be game over for the opponent. So that's why I like running 3 of these. Also, it's just my kind of play style. I love 3 Honest. And also, from the effect of Ties of the Brethren, which I'll explain a bit more about later, but you'll also be able to make use of Honest's first effect, which isn't very often. So during your main phase, you can return this face-up card from the field to the hand. Again, we'll talk about Ties of the Brethren later, but do not forget that first effect. Now, speaking of cards to keep in the deck, without question, run 3 Starry Night Rayel. I don't know if that's how you pronounce this card's name. I'm probably going to butcher a few of these names here, in all honesty, but the main thing, run 3 of these guys. Super amazing. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 Starry Night spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and in its secondary effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Starry Night monster from your graveyard, except Starry Night Rayel, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Starry Night Rayel once per turn, so you can use both effects in the same turn if you wanted to. The fact that you go +1 almost instantly if the opponent has no response by just normal summoning it is really good. An 1800 attack, that's not too shabby for just a standard normal summon on the field. So definitely run 3 of these. You've then also got 2 Starry Night Astel. I did used to run 3. And it's been okay, but you know, they can be cumbersome. So I would say 2 is the fine number for it. So its effect, quick effect. You can target 1 light monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, special summon 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. Then you can banish this card from your graveyard and target 1 level 7 light dragon monster you control. It gains 1000 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. you can only use each effect of Starry Night Astel once per turn. Now, the one thing with that secondary effect is you can only do it on your turn, unfortunately, but the fact that Starry Night, Starry Dragon keeps the additional 1000 attack until the end of the opponent's turn, I mean 3500 attack is quite chunky to get over, so it's unlikely your opponent is going to be able to beat it without any sort of weird support cards, you know? So definitely don't forget that secondary effect there. But, oh whoops, where is it? There it is. So, also, that first effect, super good, it contributes itself, and just like that, bring out a Starry Night, Starry Dragon, and then bam, you can affect your opponent's card. And again, with it being a quick effect, it doesn't matter whether it's the main phase or the battle phase, you can just use the effect. Beautiful stuff. We then have one Starry Night Flamel. This is a card you definitely don't need to run more than one of, in my opinion. And in fact, you could run 0 if you wanted to give it a try. However, I really like the secondary effect of this card. So let's just have a little look at it. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send this card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. Special summon one level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. So pretty cool that you get that effect. Quick effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one level 7 one level 7 Light Dragon monster you control or in your graveyard. Return it to your hand. You can only use one Starry Night Flamel effect per turn and only once that turn. So you can't use both effects. But in all honesty, you're more than likely going to be pulling off the secondary effect. And this is quite good, so if your opponent is trying to target Starry Night, Starry Dragon for something, then you can chain with this in the graveyard and save your Starry Night, Starry Dragon to bring back out with one of the support cards potentially in the same turn, or for a rainy day. But yes, definitely don't run more than one of that guy. Then we have Starry Night Ciel, really, really good card. Again, I used to run 3 of this, but I think 2 again is perfect, and it works really well with Rayel. So if this card is in your hand, you can return one Starry Night monster or one level 7 Light Dragon monster you control to the hand, except Starry Night Ciel. Special summon this card. If you control no monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon one level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. You can only use each effect of Starry Night Ciel once per turn. So yes, that effect where you can summon out Starry Night Rayel, go +1, and then substitute it for Ciel, and 1700 attack, yeah, it's not, too great, but better than nothing. And you've saved Rayel for another turn, and then use its effect again to pull another support card out. Really, really good. Potentially you could run one of these, but I think 2 is really good for this. Oh, don't forget that secondary effect as well. You can only use it on your turn, bear in mind. But yes, if you control no monsters, you can banish this card, special summon a level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand, and blow something up. Very, very nice indeed. Now, again, the key card that has come out, or one of the key cards anyway, Starry Night Orbitael, such a good card. So, quick effect, you can target one light monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, set one Starry Night spell trap directly from your deck. Now, bearing in mind that it's a quick effect, so you can use it in your opponent's turn and set up with one of the really decent Starry Night traps, it's so good. And also, don't discount this secondary effect. If a face-up level 7 Light Dragon monster you control returns to your hand, or this card is in your graveyard, except during a damage step, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Starry Night Orbitael once per turn. So yes, you do have a line of defense, kind of, if you bring one of your Starry Night Dragons back to your hand, and then you can use this effect again immediately afterwards, as long as it's not in the same turn of already using its tribute effect. You can also, with Tithes of the Brethren, use this to then tribute something like Flamel if this was bought out. You can also get rid of Ciel depending on the situation. Yeah, really, really good card. Now, we've already talked about the boss monster Starry Night, Starry Dragon, but goes without saying, definitely run 3 of these. If you've only unlocked 2 of these, you can still play this deck. It's just going to be that little bit more difficult trying to get this card. But there is actually quite a bit of support to bring Starry Night, Starry Dragon into your hands. So don't fret if you only unlocked 2, because it is an ultra rare. It can be quite hard to pull. But yes, run 3 if you can. Then we go into the spells. So we have Raigeki and Harpie's Feather Duster, blow up all monsters, blow up all spell and traps on your opponent's side. Almost a no-brainer, but depending on your playstyle, you could swap one of these out for a hand trap if you so desired, especially considering Starry Night, Starry Dragon starts blowing things up anyway. Harpie's Feather Duster is quite nice against skill drain. You know, just bearing that in mind when you're using Starry Night, Starry Dragon, because obviously you can't pop it if its effect is negated, right? You've then got also Monster Reborn. Almost seems like a standard staple, but the fact that you can use Starry Night, Starry Dragon's effect from the special summon, it makes this especially a staple card in this deck, for me anyway, that I find. You could also bring out Barrier Statue of the Heavens also, if that has been destroyed already. So yeah, keep an eye on how you want to use this card. We then have 3 Ties of the Brethren. Now, I've recently unlocked the 3rd one. This is such a good card for this deck. Honestly, people, it is such a good card. So, pay 2,000 life points, then target 1 level 4 or lower monster you control. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters. Also, special summon 2 monsters from your deck with the same type, attribute, and level as that monster, but with different names from each other and that monster. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. So, ideally, you want this as a turn 1 card if you're going first, because you don't care about the battle phase anyway, right? The thing to remember though is you can't link summon or do any other form of special summoning afterwards in the same turn, but this helps swarm the field, gets you out things that you need to either stop your opponent or to you know, line up the cards you need to then start getting your spell and trap cards of your Starry Night support. So what you could do is bring out Barrier Statue of the Heaven, or an Honest, or both even. I definitely try to get this out as soon as I can to then judge on what my opponent does and see if it just stops their deck entirely, you know. But yes, definitely do that. If you do bring an Honest out with it, if you don't already have one in your hand, then you can use its first effect to bring it to your hand and again protect your Barrier Statue if someone tries to attack over it. You can also bring out Orbitael. You can bring out Orbitael and Flamel if you wanted to. If you've got these as part of your 3 monsters on the field, then you can instantly do a tribute of Flamel, have that secondary effect ready, and then bring one of your key spell or trap cards to the field there. Bearing in mind you can't activate them on the same turn, but that's just standard practice, isn't it? So yes, judge the situation and pull the monsters you need for what you think is about to happen. Unfortunately, if you go into multiple copies of this, it's not as playable, but I've done games where you can still play 2 in the same game. And by playing 2, I mean, you know, you're using 4,000 life points to on separate turns to get what you need. So yes, run 3 of these if you can. I run 2 Pot of Prosperities as well to try and find this card as soon as possible. It's just good. It's just so good with this deck. So again, what I've just said as well, 2 Starry Night Prosperities. The extra deck can use some work as always with some of my videos because I don't have all the ultra rare gems and things that I need yet. So you'll see some questionable cards in here, but they're there for prosperity anyway. It's fine. You've then got 3 Starry Night Balefire. I would heavily recommend keeping it at 3. Such a good card. So it's got 2 effects here really. First is add 1 Starry Night monster or 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. So it's 1 for 1, which is quite good. Then, if you control no monsters and your opponent controls a dark monster, you can special summon 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. You can only activate 1 Starry Night Balefire per turn. Now that secondary effect is dependent on your opponent, but I mean dark monsters are quite popular, so you are going to be popping that quite often. Just bearing in mind, you do have to have no monsters on your side of that field, for that secondary effect. If you've got things that contribute itself, like Orbitael, so you can then force this, great, do it. And bearing in mind, if you've already got a Starry Night Dragon in your hand, you don't have to use this to then pull another Starry Night Dragon to get that special summon effect off. You can already use the Starry Night Dragon that's in your hand. So yeah, really, really good card. This one is usually the one I go for off the back of Starry Night Rayel. And yeah, again, play it by ear, whatever's happening on the field or whatever's in your hand at first. Decide what you want to go for. So yes, 3 of those. We've then also got 3 Starry Night Ceremony. You could play 2 of these. I would say 2 as a minimum if you wanted to make space for something else. But its effect where you can trade a Starry Night for a Starry Dragon from your deck is a really good thing. In fact, let's go through the whole thing right now anyway. So during your main phase, you can reveal 1 Light Fairy monster in your hand, and if you do, add 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. Then place that revealed monster on the bottom of your deck. So it sounds like you're kind of going down one because this card doesn't look like it's doing anything else on the field at that moment, but trust me, the secondary effect makes it really good. So if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. You can only use 1 Starry Night Ceremony effect per turn and only once per turn. So yes, you can't use both effects at once, unfortunately. But the fact that this is a continuous card and works in your opponent's turn when they do practically anything, that you can then bust out a Starry Night Dragon and blow something up. It's really disruptive, and your opponent doesn't know when you're going to do it either. Recently, and I wish I'd saved the video, or rather had the space to save the video on this because you can only save 10 replays, someone tried a Benkai deck against me. I waited for them to activate the 3rd equipped spell card, and yeah, blew up Benkai, and that was, well, yeah, literally instant surrender. It's so good. But yes, on that note, very disruptive, and the fact that that effect happens at the end of the chain as well. So if something else is about to happen, or like say if your opponent activates a continuous spell or brings out a monster which has an ignition effect, you've got the choice of bringing out Starry Night, Starry Dragon to stop that first. So yeah, that's why I love 3 of these. It can be very, very disruptive. We've then got 1 Called by the Grave. Yes, you can run 2 for obvious reason because it's disruptive. But yeah, for me at the moment anyway, I just like the way the deck is at the moment, bar the fact of not having effect faders anyway. So yes, I run 1 of these. And then into the traps, 2 Starry Night Blast, such a good card. When your opponent activates a card or effect, return 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster you control to the hand, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only activate 1 Starry Night Blast per turn, fine. The downside to it is it's not a counter trap, unfortunately. However, the fact that this hits any effect, so whether it's being an effect in the hand, an effect in the graveyard, blah blah blah, you can chain to it and then bring Starry Night Dragon to your hand. And then you can use this card, Starry Night Arrival. So, continuous effect, during the main phase you can activate 1 of these effects, target 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster you control, return it to the hand, or special summon 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. So you could bring Starry Night Dragon straight back if you wanted to. You can only use this effect of Starry Night Arrival once per turn. So you can only use 1 of this per turn, unfortunately. But regardless, it's such a good card. I run 3 of this. Yeah, again, very disruptive. Again, you can save your Starry Night, Starry Dragon as well if your opponent is going to do any sort of shenanigans. Just bearing in mind with this card though, the effect only works during the main phase, so not the battle phase. Be very, very careful when trying to time this card. So, that is the main deck. I will say there was another card I used to run before I had some ultra rares and super rares that I needed here, and that was Starry Night Sky. Now this ended up, I wouldn't say a weak link, but it wasn't as useful as other cards. So its effect, during your main phase you can normal summon 1 Starry Night monster or 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is pretty funky. And then during your turn, if a face-up level 7 Light Dragon monster you control returns to the hand, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Starry Night Sky once per turn. Now, the only problem with this effect, besides it conflicting with Pot of Prosperity, is that you only get that draw if it's in your turn that Starry Night, Starry Dragon is coming to your hand. If this let you use the effect in your opponent's turn, then I would absolutely say run 1 of these at least, because you can always use extra draw power, right? But for the fact that this, isn't as useful, again, that's why I've taken the decision to take the one that I did use out of this deck and just run with what I've got, especially since having the third Ties of the Brethren there. Okay, so going to the extra deck. As always with some of these Master Duel deck construction videos, I don't have everything, so, bear with me on the choices. But we've got 2 Utopia, they're light monsters, so great. We've got 1 Kachi Kochi Dragon, Got 1 Fairy Cheer Girl, don't discount it, even though it's just a standard rare. It is a light fairy type, and you can use Honest with it, and then get a draw from it also, while discarding one of your materials to which you could probably pop in the graveyard. You've also got number 102 Star Seraph Sentry. So yes, it does take 3 level 4 light monsters, unfortunately. You can detach 1 Exceed material from this card, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, halve its attack, also negate its effect. So that's not bad if you can pull it off, but it hasn't been as useful to me just yet. 1 number 70 Malevolent Sin. This I unlocked very, very recently with my ultra rare gems. Tornado Dragon. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 spell trap on the field to destroy it. Very, very nice, especially as a quick effect. And again, especially if you're going up against Eldritch players and things like that, it's quite nice for that disruption, isn't it? Just bear in mind, it is a wind monster, so if you've got Barrier Statue of the Heavens out, you can't special summon this one. What you can special summon if you wanted to is Zeus. So yeah, Zeus, it's just a great card. I don't even need to explain it. Remove everything else from the field apart from it. Yeah, so good, and especially since you can Exceed summon it once an Exceed monster has attacked, so main phase 2. Beautiful stuff indeed. Then Link monsters, again this is stuff I've unlocked recently. Nightmare Phoenix, really, really good to dispose of one of the back row. Hip Hoshinen, I hopefully haven't butchered that name. Don't discount this, even though it looks stupid. I love it. So you've got to use 2 light monsters for it. All light monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense, including itself, so this would be 1900. Also, all dark monsters on the field lose 400 attack and defense. Again, don't discount that effect either. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 light monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use the effect of Hip or Shingen once per turn. Really funky, really funky. I've definitely used that a couple of times. Herald of Mirage Lights. Not great attack, but depending if you've got the Honest support, then when a spell trap or effect is activated, you can send 1 fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do destroy it, you're not going to be able to pop the secondary effect, so don't worry about that. This one I realised I had from just a random unlock, which is great. So again, you've got to use 2 monsters including a light monster. You can target 1 light monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your zone, this card points to. So good. So if you're up against something that Barrier Statue of the Heavens can't stop, then just take their monster if you're able to. Beautiful stuff, absolutely beautiful. And then if this Link Summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, you can add 1 light monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of line of the Light Charm and Lustrous once per turn. And there's plenty of stuff here. You can bust out Rayel. Don't ignore that one. You can get Flamel if you really wanted to. You can get Ciel, which is really good. Unfortunately not Orbitael, but that's fine. You could also get Barrier Statue of the Heavens if you wanted to. Okay, cool. And then next up, we've got Nightmare Unicorn. Really, really good card in general. Now, I haven't special summoned these yet, but they seem alright with the deck now that you can summon out quite frequently. And luckily, I got this one just randomly from an unlock, and this one from one of the selection packs recently. But yeah, Borrowload Dragon's quite funky, and Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax. Something I would suggest, actually, speaking of Link monsters, if you've got it, is this one. So unfortunately, as you can tell by my lowly 2 gems, I'm not able to unlock this just yet. But IP Masquerader's effect is really good, being able to link something in your opponent's turn. And also, you can... hold on, go back a sec. Wait, where did it go? Oh yeah, a link monster that use this card as material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Yeah, so do not discount that at all if you've unlocked it already. There is another card I've got my eye on as well, which is the Blackluster, the Luster Soldier card, the Link monster, which could be quite good, but hey, one set of 30 ultra rare gems at a time, right? So, on that note, I think that about covers the Starry Night, Starry Dragon deck. Give it a go. Like I said, really, really fun deck, and I think I've only been up against one Starry Night, Starry Dragon deck ever here. I would love to see more of it, and let me know what you think. Let me know how you find it. Let me know your suggestions in the comments below. And until next time, people, you take care, and I will see you again soon.